Hey, hey.
Does it work?
Hello.
There it goes.
There it is. Hey, hey.
All right. Tony Fadell, nice to have you at the Wisdom and AI Summit.
Thank you for having me, Soren.
You're very welcome.
When was the last time we did this? 4 years ago?
We did
5 years
this
ago?
in New York City with Anderson Cooper probably 6 years ago. But I did not get to interview, but we had Anderson interview. And then I think that was the only time.
Damn. Oh,
So a lot has happened since then.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people know about you is iPhone, iPod, Nest, like all that world. And what a lot of other people don't know about you is you're a huge proponent of human connection and the analog world. So we're going to dive into all of that.
Okay.
But I first want to talk to you.
3 hours?
What I first want to talk to you about is when you were involved in co-creating the iPhone, the iPod, and things. You saw a world that the rest of us did not see, and you created it. And the same thing with Nest. I had no idea that the smart technologies would enter the home, and you saw that. So as you look ahead right now at what's happening, particularly with AI, what is the world that you see we're going to in the next foreseeable future? And is it a world you're excited about, or are you
Well, first, I've been living in the world of AI since 2010. 2009, we were at Nest. We were one of the very first consumer products to ever ship with AI in it. We just couldn't tell the world we put AI in it. We couldn't even tell them it was machine learning. We had to make up some stuff because if we would have told AI was in it, people would go, "Oh, scary! I don't want that on my wall. I don't want AI controlling my thermostat." Now, if it doesn't have AI in it, it's like, what? Why would I want that? So, you know, our minds have changed. So I've been living in the world of AI for, like I said, over almost 13, 14 years now. And I've funded 7, 8, 9 companies in the AI space well before ChatGPT and the whole LLM craziness. And so we have been making money. We've been working. Oh, there's a bunch of them there. There's a bunch. There you go. A bunch of the different companies, and those are all using AI, and they have been for well over, 5, 6, 7 years now. And so AI and a lot of things that we've had behind the scenes have been AI driven. A lot of things in Photoshop, a lot of things in Google. There's been AI embedded in all of our things. And when it's used properly, when it's trained properly, these kinds of things, it can actually be very beneficial, and we don't get all the downsides, all the hallucinations, and all the other things that we're hearing from LLMs.
Yeah.
And so, to me, AI has a ton of benefits when it's used right. But when AI is coming, and everyone's saying it's artificial general intelligence, and it's going to be smarter than humans, it's to me, well, if it can't do 1 + 2 = 3 all the time, it's not smarter than humans. Yes, it can regurgitate a bunch of and make it a really smart autocorrect engine, but it doesn't even correct itself. It doesn't know when it doesn't know. And so these systems that are magical systems that we're seeing have fundamental problems with them that are not solvable no matter how much compute we throw at them, because we're putting incredibly bad data into the systems, and we're not putting the right guardrails around them to make sure that they're not going to hallucinate and cause problems. We saw what happened with character AI last week when a kid killed himself, 14 years old, because he bonded with this AI agent. We have, I think it was Claude AI, all these doctors are using it, and it 90% of the time hallucinates for patient reports. 90% of the time or more. So now these things are up to the point where they could kill people. So because we're not putting the right guardrails in training. I have a company, and it'll be up there, but Nabla, we now work, and we've been at this for 6 years, something like that. 400,000 doctors in the US and worldwide using it daily, and it doesn't hallucinate because we trained it the right way and it was made for something. So when you look at LLMs, they're trying to be these know-it-alls. And whereas if you have highly tuned systems trying to do the right thing in the right context with the right data sets and trained, they can be very powerful and very valuable. What we have is a crazy experiment being run and tons of money throwing on it, and people think they can design out the problems when there's fundamental issues.
So can you talk about, maybe, because not everyone hearing this will know how large language models are created. So do you want to just talk very, very briefly about how that works and why you have an issue with it in terms of the...
So large language models, let me give you an analogy. And we were talking about this in the back. So When we raise our kids, I'm sure how many people in here have kids? Yes? Yeah. How many? Okay. When you raise your kids, what do? You first get them, you go make sure they go to the right schools, and you make sure they're fed properly, and you make sure they have the right friends, and you go and help train them, and you help them with their their emotional, education, and you help them with whatever the things are, and you want to make sure you train them right, and you make sure they try to stay away, hopefully, from too many digital devices and the wrong content in the internet, and da-da-da-da. So that's how you train your kids, and that's what you think it is. And, through the formative years, they get to a certain point, and then hopefully they've got enough intelligence to make good decisions on their own, and that's kind of to navigate the world. The way LLMs work is take a baby and give them the entire fucking internet. The entire internet. And then humans go and say, I don't like that part of the internet, and I don't like that part of the internet, and I don't like that part of the internet. I think you're good. And then they send it out in the world. So think of this baby that has the entire internet with just a few things redacted, and we're saying, oh, it's going to be great. We'll make sure we put a little rules around it. It's going to be great. That's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with something that has no context. It doesn't have any value system. It just regurgitates all the crap on the internet, all of the crap, not just the good stuff. If it was just trained on all the good stuff, okay, great. But then the driver's like, well, what is good stuff? And, and it takes each of us and certain people with certain value sets to say, this is good, like we do with our doctor's training or whatever else it is, and we stand behind it. When you create a know-it-all, what do know-it-all do? Does anyone want to hire a know-it-all? You know what happens when you meet a know-it-all in the real world. What do? They always give you an answer. Oh, ChatGPT always gives you an answer. Do they make up shit when they don't know the answer? Of course they do. Want this shit. Okay? It's very clear. Right. And so we are talking about paying people to create these incredible systems based on shitty data, a lot of it, and a lot of good data, and it makes up shit 80% of the time. And it takes smart humans who've been trained like us to know what's good and what's bad. But you just heard Sam right here say it, any kid who grows up, gets born today, is never going to be smarter than these things. So they're going to give up their brain to this other thing and never be conscious about what it's spitting out, and it just takes it as rote. Like, oh, that's what we should do. It's law. That's the oracle told me so. And so now there's a new system, a new term that's coming up. How many know about Daniel Kahneman's book, Thinking Fast and Slow? Yes? You guys all know what System 1 and System 2 thinking is, right?
Not everybody might who's watching this on YouTube.
Okay, so let's talk about System 1, System 2. So Daniel Kahneman's book, Thinking Fast and Slow, is a incredible book to tell you how the mind works. And we System 1, which is the emotional system in our brain, which is fight or flight. How do you, detect a predator or something like that and run away. System 2 is your rational brain that gets developed from the time you're a teenager up to 25 or whatever, where you get to then control that emotional state with some kind of logic and rational thought. So that's System 1 and System 2. What we're now hearing about and what we're talking about is System 0. What is System 0? I wish Danny was here. He was a friend. The guy was amazing. I love him. Rest in peace. But I would love to talk to him about System 0. And what System 0 is, when we stop using our emotional brain, when we stop using the rational System 2 brain, and we start just saying the oracle is doing it for us. System 0 is going, and you're going to start seeing this in younger people. You're going to start seeing it in adults. We see that with a digital addiction. People just like this. So literally, it's System 0 where you're going to just turn over most of your rational thought as well as your emotional feelings to this other thing. And that's what we're already starting to talk about. And it's a real worry.
Yeah.
It's a real worry.
Yeah. And so basically the concern would be if you create a smaller AI that just you're control the data set, that you're supportive of that because you can control what goes in that data set. And
we fund them and these companies are profitable and all this stuff. It's great.
But when you take the entire web content, it's too filled with errors and bullshit to actually be able to
look at the chat sessions. Look at Facebook. Look at all this stuff we were already talking about. All that stuff goes into these systems.
Right. And so what is the answer to that, Tony? What is it that you would, if you were kind of in charge, or how do we navigate this as a culture when we're beginning to deal with more and more information that's through an AI rather than through other forms of communication?
We need a LinkedIn for AI agents. Okay?
A LinkedIn
we need a
for AI,
LinkedIn.
okay.
I'm going to hire someone.
Okay.
I'm going to hire someone to train me or my kids. I'm going to hire someone to be an AI co-pilot for me. I'm going to, or you're a business, I'm going to hire someone to replace someone. I hire an AI agent to replace someone. I want to know, where did they go to school? What did they learn? I want transparency on the data.
Okay.
I want to understand the report cards. I want to understand everything. I want to understand how many times they've hallucinated or caused problems. I want a LinkedIn with a CV of every agent that I use, and I want to know definitively of what. It's not like they don't know. They got all the data for this stuff.
Yeah.
I want that to be transparent. I want regulated by governments to say, we need a LinkedIn for each AI. Here's the standard way it's being done. We're going to double check on this stuff. And you're going to have to update it, and it's going to get updated in real time. That's what I want.
That's great.
I love technology, people. I love it.
Yeah.
I want it used right.
Yeah. And then what about making people more connected to the analog world? Because I know that's a big importance for you. And increasingly, the AI just entices people to spend more time in the digital world, or so it seems, or a lot of it does.
Well,
Do you worry about that, or is that?
So here.
And I know anyways, go ahead just with that.
You sure?
Well, I was going to say, I also know that you've moved out of the Silicon Valley to places where there is more human connection. But I wanted to talk to you about that.
So yes, I left about 9-10 years ago. I've been living in Europe, and enjoying the life there, but actually really engaging with a lot of people. Sure. And what I try to do is, there's always the human element in all of this. And the only way I was able to make Nest, to dream up Nest, was I had to get out of Silicon Valley, because it becomes this echo chamber. You don't go and solve everyday problems because you're just trying to impress the other engineer or the funder here or whatever, or you're in some mainstream thing. I got outside of Silicon Valley, saw the problems, and then came back and created Nest, which then created, all the stuff in the home now, for better or for worse. And so I think you have to go and get outside of this bubble and this echo chamber to actually reconnect with humanity, understand real pain, real problems, and go and solve for those problems. Not create new problems like VR creates or whatever it is. Fix problems that we have.
Right.
Okay? And so AI can fix those problems, but we have to do it in a logical and smart manner. So for me, connecting with people in other areas of life. So I lived in Bali, right? I lived in Bali for a year and a half, lived in France, lived in Spain, lived in Portugal. And you really get out there and you work with people and you understand what their problems are every day. That's what it is. I go to, banana fields and avocado fields in Central America and learn how to apply technology to farmers. You get out there and really understand, and not you look from this lens, a single purpose lens from Silicon Valley out, because there's so much good innovation
and there's probably more human connection in other places.
Way more, and cultural connections. Right?
Yeah.
It's not this homogenous thing, and you get to learning other languages, learning about their customs and things of that, and it's enriching. Right? So because they want to hear about Silicon Valley, but they just don't want it pushed on them. They want it to be a conversation.
So when you think about like your particular impact on the world going forward, what is the area that you feel like you've definitely created enough tech? You don't have to do anything to prove yourself in the tech world. You've succeeded, in terms of financially and business skills and notoriety. What is it that motivates you now?
Well, what motivates me now is really at Build Collective, what we do is we fund disruptive technology in service of society, health, and the environment. That's what we really go after, all right? And what we're trying to do is, I tried to be retired, that didn't work. So my whole
you don't
goal,
seem to have the energy of the retired person personally, but yeah.
So I really want to be able to help. The only reason why I'm sitting here is because I had mentors who helped me when I was younger to get to where I am today. Helped me with some of the major decisions that I had in life and different things. And I wrote the book because one day I woke up and I looked around and I said, most of my mentors had died, and people were asking me questions every day. And I go, oh shit, yeah, man, I'm old now, and now I'm a mentor. So I better write this book. And so it was really to honor them is why I wrote the book. But so for me, what gets me incredibly excited, and I was an incredible team at Berkeley this morning. I don't want to tell you what they do. They're very stealth, but they're going to fucking solve an energy problem for us. And I know, teaser. So the big thing for me is working with all of these incredibly bright people around the world. We have investments on 4 different continents, working in shrimp farming and working in energy, working in diamond semiconductors and cancer vaccines. That gets me up every day because I get to help them, and they help me to see the world for their eyes in all these different domains. And it's just incredibly enriching. So, I hope, that I can impart the wisdom that I got from my mentors and my experience to them to help them take these incredible disruptive things that can really help the earth and humanity to become real and to change the world. And that's what gets me up every day.
That's beautiful. And do you feel hopeful, or how would you assess, how would you looking forward, how would you describe yourself?
Look, the alternative really sucks.
Yeah, it does.
So yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic, but I'm a cautious optimist.
Okay.
Or I should say a pessimistic optimist.
Okay.
So I'm very pessimistic as an optimist. So I want these hopeful, optimistic things to succeed, but I'm pessimistic as how we get them to market and make them work. So I really turn the screws as opposed to, it's all going to be good and la, la, la. No, you got to really turn it and because I know how hard it is to get this stuff to go. And so I get to, I am a hopeful but pessimistic optimist.
Great. Okay.
All right.
And then
I go through that each day. You encourage them and go, that's shit, but that's awesome. And
Yeah. Well, when you look at things like, all right, let's look at loneliness, let's look at human connection, let's look at environmental, climate change, let's look at well-being, like young people's mental health. It seems like we're losing on a lot of fronts. Like it's getting worse more than better. Political division. Would you say so, that on a humanity scale and an analog scale and all the things that really, really matter, we're kind of getting our asses kicked? Would you say so, or do you see it differently?
Well, let's just take the environment first. We are getting our asses kicked in the environment not because we don't have the technology. I've been in so many companies and seen so many incredible technologies that work and actually are better than the things we use today and make more money and all these other things, but we don't have the will to bring them into the world.
Right. Okay.
We don't have the political will. We don't have those things. So I'm very hopeful that we have the solutions. One day when we're all burning, then everyone's like, what do I have? And then it's going to happen. But I've been waiting for that for 10 years now. So I hope it's still going to happen. Okay. So I'm very hopeful in that thing. But I don't see us fucking up. We have the solutions. We have the solutions of the right way to do AI. We have the right solutions for how to do healthcare, how to reduce loneliness. Do we have the willpower as opposed to what's just the old greenback, right? And so we have to make sure that instead of going to we're using, it's conscious capital. I don't like impact investing, but it's conscious capital. When us as investors, we have incredible resources. We have and with that comes incredible responsibility to do the right thing. Yeah. And that's what I try to do, is we try to be a model to do the right thing. Do we make the most money as everyone else? No. But do we do the right thing to help balance between that? And I think that's really important.
Yeah, and the will part, where is the friction in the will part? Is it a societal friction that we put money over well-being of the planet?
Or is it? It is. It's just that. We just it's the old guard who are protecting themselves, protecting whatever it is, and a lot of them are in charge of things they never created. Yeah. They just manage it. They don't even know how to get out of it, so they're just scared. Yeah. Right? So I don't want to say they're all evil, but they're scared because they don't know what to do because they didn't build anything. Right. They kind of just keep pushing the same button, right? Because someone told them how to push the button. Yeah. They weren't creators. Yeah. So we need more voices of creators, but we also need voices of creators doing the right thing. I don't want to hear about Zuckerberg telling me that social media doesn't fuck up kids. Give me a fucking break. It fucks up adults too.
Yeah.
Like, we need responsible people at the top, not just in government, but in the institutions that we have.
Beautiful. All right. So, and lastly, this is the Wisdom and AI conference.
Yep.
What I sometimes like to ask people is, let's fast forward many, many decades ahead, and you're kind of taking your last breath. What do you want to be remembered by, and what do you feel like is the most important central thing? Like, wow, if you really knew Tony, this is kind of what drove him.
I really want to be known. I think my legacy as I was able to help a lot of people change the world in the right way. Mm-hmm. Not for the things I've done personally or with other, but I was able to be there and help those people achieve their dreams and their visions so that, thousands of flowers can bloom and help make the change, not this. And that it helps to, how can I say, blunt the iPhone that I helped to create. Because people are like, you created it, you fucked it all up. So, which I don't. I have a whole new way of thinking. It's just a refrigerator. iPhones are just refrigerators. I can tell you about that later. Okay. But yeah, that's what I really want to do.
Okay, beautiful. And there is a fact. So while we're on that, and I know we're out of time, how do you look at that iPhone creation? Is it just like, I know you guys are well-intended, and I know it wasn't like seeking to addict or seeking to cause pain, and we all use it, and everybody loves it and does all the stuff on it. Do you have a sense of like, was humanity's kind of like first big journey into digital consumption, and we learned some lessons, and we're still learning those lessons?
We definitely, at the time of the development of the iPhone, it was just supposed to be this thing that you did it combined an iPod, a laptop, and a phone. It was just like, okay, and you're going to do the same stuff you do on it. It wasn't going to become this everything machine. I knew it was going to have some things, right? But when I saw the way people changed before we ever shipped the iPhone, when we were just using it, was 200 of us inside the company using it because it was so secret, and you watch their behavior change over those first 6-9 months while we were developing it, I'm like, oh shit. And then the App Store, and then everything else. It was a whole different thing. Be careful what you wish for. Everybody wants what they want, when they want it, how they want it, and personalize everything, and you got it. Right? We got it.
Yeah, we got it.
Now it's we got to roll it back.
And so, what do you, very, very last, what's your final message on making sure the analog stays real and true, and human touch and connection and the physical, and just this feeling not of us as this ego self that has to be here to promote ourselves and build ourselves, but us as actually just shared human values and shared human connection?
Share face to face. Or at least FaceTime. The big thing for me is, what is your personal relationship to digital, and how do you make sure that the phone's down when you're at the table, when you make sure that you guys were talking in the bedroom, and making sure that you don't have that bottle of alcohol with you everywhere. Right? Because that's what it is. And so how do you make sure that we set norms for individuals, yourself, as well as your families, and teach proper skills around staying human? Because the thing is, as you just heard, AI is going to be smarter than every kid growing up. We'll see. But it's going to happen at some point, because we'll get it right. The thing is, it's like the biggest thing you can do to be the best person you can is to be the best human who uses the technology. Beautiful. We've been trying to replicate people as machines for the last 150 years, right? Better calculators, better that, whatever it is. We need to be better humans in terms of with each other.
That's beautiful. That's why we do this. Thank you, Tony. Tony Fadell, everybody.